everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Britt, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you probably should because I normally talk about geeky things, but today we're talking about pet food again. I have done a video already about pet food brands that I don't like. Now, let's talk about some pet food brands that I do like. So, let's go ahead and talk about them, why I like them, and their affordability, because sometimes their affordability is not great, but that's okay. So the first one on my list is Candy Day. It's actually what I feed Nova and Cosmo right now. Well, I'm actually switching them back to Candy Day. So, well, Nova's never been on Candy Day before, but back when I worked at Petco, I switched Cosmo to Candy Day. I tried switching Corvette to Candy Day. She didn't like it. Corvette didn't like anything that wasn't Purina, literally. I ended up switching her to Hills at some point in her life towards the end of it, and she eventually started eating it because she was starving. And the reason I switched her to Hills was because that was the only time I could find kidney food. So Corvette's end of life was tough for everybody involved. Anyway, but yeah, so I fed Cosmo Candy Day because I got a 40% discount at Petco because of the contract that they had with Petco, so I got it for super cheap. It is not affordable. I did happen to find one flavoring in Pure, which is affordable for me, and then Nova's is affordable, but that's about it. So Candy Day I really like. They're probably my favorite because they're a small family-owned business. I think they only have, at least at the time I worked at Petco, they only had 100 employees. I think they wanted to keep it that. They never wanted to grow much bigger than that. And all of their ingredients, they at least try to get from small family-owned farms in Texas, like around their facility. But sometimes they do have to go overseas, but whenever they do go overseas, they are always very careful about where they go overseas, and they're still looking for small family-owned farms, which I love. I love the fact that the food that I'm buying is not only small family-owned, but is also promoting small family-owned farms, and I love that about them. Their facility is called Ethos. It is in Texas, and it's fantastic. They don't hide their facility. They don't hide anything about their way of doing things. They're such an ethical brand, and I love them for it. The only reason I switched Cosmo off was because when I left Petco and I lost my 40% discount, I switched Cosmo to the value brand. Then the value brand ended up actually going away for a little while. It's back now, I learned today. But I did find something that was about the same price in the actual Candy Day Pure. So there is Candy Day Under the Sun, which is their value brand, which is a very limited line now. Then there is Pure, which is limited ingredient, which is what Cosmo is on, because even though I don't know specifically what grain, I know there is a grain that doesn't sit well with him. So he's grain-free, and I'm careful about it, so do not get on my butt about it, people who hate grain-free food, but I'm careful about it. And then there is Life Stages, and there's a few others, but Life Stages is usually meant for all stages of life, so it is meant for all dogs, regardless of size, regardless of age. So I really like Candy Day. There's a few others that they've introduced recently that I've not done a lot of research on just because I had left Petco at that point, so it got to a point where I didn't need to do research on the newest dog food brands. So I do want to do some more research on their newer stuff because I'm very curious, but Pure is the one that I always go with because it's limited ingredient, so therefore Cosmo, I know whatever is in it will make Cosmo feel good and won't make him itchy to the point that he makes his pads bleed. So that's just a thing that happens to him when he eats grains. Next on my list is Nutro. Nutro is a great brand. It is not affordable, which is why I don't feed it. But I do like Nutro. I like their ingredients. All of their lines are top notch. I have never looked at a Nutro ingredients list and been like, oh, that's tough. Like, I've always really liked them. And while they do some advertising, they don't like really throw themselves out there in advertising like Blue Buffalo does. They don't start advertising wars with Purina. If you see Nutro at all, it's usually with a PetSmart commercial or a Petco commercial. It's usually a brand that is highlighted with a Chewy commercial, PetSmart, Petco commercial. It's pretty rare for you to find an actual Nutro commercial, which I really like. It's kind of subtle, it's not in your face, and they don't run the risk of a lot of other dog food brands like Blue Buffalo who fall more victim to the idea of advertising more than they do to the brand itself, like the food that goes into the dog food, the actual ingredients that go in the dog food. So I really like Nutro. I personally never fed it, but I do have friends that do, and they have always really loved Nutro, and if at any point I could afford it, I would think about it, but I really like Kaytee so much that I don't think I would. I have such a brand loyalty to Kaytee that I would hate to switch out of it again at this point, now that I'm switching them back. Next might surprise people because it's technically owned by Purina, but that's Merrick. Merrick does have a value brand. It is called Whole Earth. I think it still exists. I think they still run it. I used to feed that to Cosmo, actually. It was one of the first grain-free foods that I put him on before I switched to Candy Day. Merrick is a great brand, and yes, about 5-6 years ago they were bought out by Purina. So Purina technically is the parent company, which the parent company for Purina is like Mars, I think, or Nestle, one of the two. It's a candy company. You know, Merrick really didn't suffer from that change, because Purina stays out of Merrick's existence. All that happens is that Purina gets money from Merrick sales, which is why I kind of get iffy on it. I don't buy the food, but I do buy the treats. Their Power Bites, fantastic. I love their Power Bites so much. Cosmo loves them. They're fantastic. If I ever needed training treats ever again, which, trust me, ain't gonna happen anytime soon, but if I ever needed training treats ever again, Power Bites would be the ones that I would get. Wholehearted. That is when I had the dog and the cat on for, well, Nova's only ever been on Wholehearted. This is the first time I've switched her food over to something different. And Cosmo's been on Wholehearted now for maybe 2.5 years, I would think. But Wholehearted is so good. It's another grain-free brand. Does have some of the stuff in it that theoretically may be bad for dogs on a grain-free diet. I understand there are risk factors, but there are risk factors with literally any food you buy dogs. There's a risk factor for letting your dog outside in a wooded backyard and where you've seen a cougar in the backyard before. So there are risk factors everywhere you go. And Cosmo's done really well. He's 12 and he has no issues with his heart, so we're fine. But yeah, Wholehearted, other than the couple of things that are like being studied right now to see whether or not it actually like hurts dogs to be on grain-free diets and which ingredients are bad, there are some ingredients in those foods that do exist. However, again, there's been no issue. And I'm not saying that there will never be an issue. I'm not saying that no dog will ever have an issue. I'm just saying, being aware, do your research. However, Wholehearted is at least affordable. You can only get it at Petco because it is a Petco brand, and it's really easy to find. Clearly, it's never going to go anywhere unless they just change the name of it at some point, which is possible. But at the end of the day, Wholehearted is affordable, and it is a natural food. It is a good food. And because of the fact that it's owned by Petco, they don't have to advertise. So, because they already advertise for Petco, so they just don't have to advertise for the food itself. So that's why it ends up being a little bit cheaper. Nulo is actually a pretty good brand. I really like it. It's a good brand. I've always liked the ingredients in it. There you go. Dog food brands that I love. If you guys have any questions about other things, I do want to do a video about brands that I love, just in general brands that I love, like dog toys and poop bags and all that stuff. So if you guys have any other ideas or questions about specific brands or any other kind of like tips that you may want about what to look for dog stuff, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys all next time. So if you guys want to see the dog foods that I hate, click here. If you want to see all of the dog tip videos or pet tip videos I've ever done, you guys can click right here. Click here to subscribe to this channel here. Click here to subscribe to my vlogging channel, where it is my version of a family vlog because I'm a pet parent. Hit the bell for notifications on both of those channels. Hit the like button. Comment down below some things that you want to know about pets, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!